My family blamed me for being born a girl instead of the son who would have saved their business. My grandfather stood at his 80th birthday party, raised his champagne glass, and announced to 200 guests that the family business was bankrupt because I'd been born female instead of the male heir they needed. If only Sandra had been Samuel, he said, looking directly at me, we'd still have our empire. Excuse me? I said, standing up from the table where I'd been seated with the children, not the family. I was the firstborn grandchild in a family of traditional industrialists. My birth had apparently cursed the family because I couldn't carry on the family name or run the steel business properly. Never mind that I had an MBA from Wharton and had offered to help save the company 5 years ago. They'd refused my help, hired my cousin Bradley instead. Bradley, who'd barely graduated high school but had the right chromosomes. Bradley, who'd driven the company into the ground with his cocaine habit and terrible decisions. You know it's true, my father added, already drunk. A son would have had instincts, the presence, the natural authority. Bradley had all that? I asked. How'd that work out? The room grew uncomfortable. Everyone knew Bradley had embezzled $2 million before disappearing to Costa Rica. But somehow, that was still my fault for being born wrong. If you'd been a boy, Bradley wouldn't have felt pressured to perform, my aunt chimed in. The mental gymnastics were Olympic level. So Bradley stole because I have ovaries? Don't be crude, grandmother scolded. You've always been jealous of what you couldn't be. A thief? You're right, I'm devastated. But grandfather wasn't done. He pulled out a folder, showing financial projections from the year I was born. See? Our fortunes declined the moment you arrived. A girl. Useless. That's when I pulled out my own folder. Funny you should mention fortunes declining, I said, connecting my laptop to the presentation screen they'd set up for the slideshow of grandfather's life. The screen lit up with financial records, not the family business's records, mine. While you were blaming me for existing with the wrong genitals, I started my own company. That MBA you said was wasted on a woman, I used it. The next slide showed my company's value. $42 million. That's impossible, grandfather sputtered. I offered to buy your failing business 3 years ago. You laughed, said a woman couldn't understand steel. The room was silent, so I bought your competitors instead, all 3 of them. My father went pale. You're lying. The next slide showed the acquisition papers. I owned every steel company in the region except theirs. I'd systematically bought them while my family was waiting for a male heir to magically appear and save them. You want to know why your business failed? Not because I was born female, because you were so blinded by misogyny that you rejected help from the only person in this family who actually understood business. This is vindictive, grandfather shouted. This is business. Something you said I could never understand. The final slide was a letter from my lawyers, an offer to buy the family business for $1, the exact value it now held with its debts and destroyed reputation. Sell to me or declare bankruptcy tomorrow. Those are your options. The party erupted, relatives screaming about betrayal, about family loyalty, about how I destroyed everything. You destroyed everything the day you blamed an infant for your failures, I said. I just bought the wreckage. They sold it to me for $1. They had no choice. I renamed the company, hired competent people regardless of gender, and turned it profitable within 18 months. Grandfather died last year, still insisting the family's downfall was because I'd been born female. In his will, he left me a letter. You may have won, but you'll never be the son I needed. I framed it in my office next to the $42 million valuation and the photo of me ringing the bell at the New York Stock Exchange when we went public. Below it, I added a plaque. Imagine what I could have done if you'd actually raised me. Bradley sent a postcard from Costa Rica last month, congratulating me on the IPO. Even the thief grandson understood business better than the men who blamed a baby for being born.